I shall cease to obey Jesus. Keep your word forevermore.
Shall we praise? Be seated. Peace be unto you. We thank God for another gathering today. And it is my prayer that His word that is coming will prepare us. His word will give us the hope that we need and also transform our life. Hallelujah. Amen. When you look at the theme for this afternoon, it's very simple and straightforward. God's love and church tradition. Nyame doine asori atetisem. And it is my prayer that by the time we are through with His word, our lives will be transformed and changed, and all our needs shall be answered this afternoon. Shall we pray? Father in heaven, we are so grateful and we are so thankful. Father, we are so grateful for giving us such a wonderful moment to also, Lord, reflect on your word. Father, we are here to listen to you so that our lives will be transformed. We ask that the Holy Spirit come and manifest your word into our lives. Come this afternoon and restore our hope. Transform every broken heart. Lord, give us the assurance that we need in you. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Our theme this afternoon is going to be more of discussion. It's a very practical theme. What we experience in our churches today, what we see around our church, and also what is in a way destroying our church. This afternoon we are going to look at how we can combine or how we can integrate God's love and some of the traditions in our church. Hallelujah.
Amen.
We have 2 words there. We're looking at God's love and also church tradition. Sometimes it doesn't go hand in hand. We have abundant love, God's abundant love in our church. However, we also have some traditions in the church that contradict and that oppress. And in today's world, we are more focused on some of these old traditions in our church rather than we focusing our mind on God's love. Let's look at what we meant by church tradition. So we are looking at some of those instructions or rules, you can make it laws, that has been handed down to us. And sometimes even when you ask, what are these traditions? We don't even know how they came about. But we've accepted them and they are now part of us in our churches. We can also ask again, are these traditions helping us in our church? Are we fulfilling God's love in our church through these traditions? When you come to Presbyterian Church of Ghana, there are certain, I would say, codified traditions or rules that they say this is how we do it. Oh, praise be mudie, say and no. Na say ye ne sa, some say ye bisa ye won say eni nyame do e wa sorry ni mu no. Eni no ekọ ana say satete sem yi epia ye efi nyame do a wo ma ye e wa sorry ni mu. This afternoon, this is what we are going to look at. When we read for our first, our second, and third reading, it's giving us some illustrations. As it says, His grace alone is sufficient. Sometimes all we have to do is sit down in our churches and reflect His goodness, His love, and all the changes that God is what? Working in His church. But sometimes there is this hindrance in the church, when we have to experience and embrace new things, changes, dynamics in our churches, we have these traditions taking over. You wouldn't be surprised. We have some ministers in the Presbyterian Church of Ghana that are more in tune with certain rules or the constitution. And to them, that is the way of what? Building up the church. Or that is the way through which what? They think we can worship. When we read in our third reading in Luke, we saw that during the Sabbath, when they met at the synagogue, something happened. There was this lady who has been disabled for 18 years. And she was suffering. In other words, you can say she was a cripple. And she's been through this for 18 good years. And then, when she met Jesus, there was a transformation in her life. Jesus transformed her life. Jesus changed her. She was in the synagogue. She's been there. All this while, nothing has happened in her life. So when Jesus got there, Jesus touched her. And she was healed. And then, if it were to be in our church today, Rebecca said, senior presbyter, one of those elders stood and asked Jesus, this is an abomination, or this is something that we don't do. This is against our tradition in the church. You can't heal. In other words, what they were trying to say is, Jesus has what? Worked on a Sabbath day. And that was against their rule. That was some of their traditions in the church. And they condemned whatever he did. And so he asked them, among you here, who among you will you even tie your donkey or your ox? And on that Sabbath day, you wouldn't release it to feed or drink. And that was what Jesus asked them. And from there, they were all standing, looking at him. This same thing is happening in our churches today. We are so in tune with some of the olden traditions, some of those things that are not helping us now. We drafted some of the church constitution years back that are not helping. And one thing we have to know is whenever we deviate or we shift from God's love and we focus on some of this tradition, we make it part of the church, the foundation of the church. We don't even experience, we don't come near where God's love. But when you read from, I think, from the second reading, which is Hebrew, he said, then you call, and the Lord will answer. You cry for help, and he will say, here I am. When we are in the church, and we entangle ourselves with some of these traditions, some of these practices, that doesn't align with God's love, the same thing happens to us. We deviate or we shift from the love of God. And that was what Jesus asked them. In other words, they were being hypocrites. Amongst them there, even the church elder who asked why Jesus has worked on the Sabbath day. If he was the one who was healed, would he reject it? He would rather rejoice. But because it wasn't him, he had a chance and he had a time to question Jesus why he worked on the Sabbath day. Beloved, in our churches today, we have same problem. We have so many challenges going on. And sometimes we have to look at the trend We have to look at what is going on. We have to accept certain challenges, and then we have to change. Sometimes, some of these traditions, we the members, we are part of it. We embrace it. We can't question it. We accept it. And this is what is affecting our church. But when you read the second, he said that if you call on me, I will answer. But we can't, put in our efforts, follow these traditions, and always make sure we are being guided with this, and then we experience God's love to be in the church. Hallelujah. Santa, I have a question here. Do we really love God? I know most of us will say yes, we love God. How do we show it in the church? How do we show it? It goes beyond we saying it, we announcing it, but through our deeds. What do we do in the church that shows that we love God? We have to first love ourselves. If we can't love in the church, if you can't love Mr. Sapo, if Mr. Sapo cannot love Auntie Salome, how do we even love God that we've not even seen? And this is the challenge. God's love defines his true nature and what he stands for. When he was walking with his disciples, when Jesus was walking with his disciples, he was just walking and then receiving message from his Father. There wasn't any codified rules or any constitution or any tradition. He was making sure every message that was coming from God, that was what he was using. And through that, he was able to what? Heal the sick, let the blind see, those that cannot hear. And so today, we have that chance, we have that opportunity to also make sure we live in this kind of love. We're able to reflect this love that is shown in the church. We're able to make sure people that are close to us will also learn from us. Let us again read something from the first reading. Isaiah 58:9. And I read, if you keep your feet, I'm reading from the 13 and 14. If you keep your feet from breaking the Sabbath and from doing as you please on my holy day, if you call on the Sabbath a delight and the Lord's holy day memorable, and if you honor it by not going your own way and not doing as you please or speaking idle words, then you find your joy in the Lord, and I will cause you to ride in a triumph on the height of the land, and to feast on the inheritance of your father Jacob. For the mouth of the Lord has spoken. Hallelujah. Amen. So he was reminding them, it is good that we honor the Sabbath day like we're doing now. We have to make sure we are keeping the Sabbath holy. But we are not binding it on ourselves. Because it's the Sabbath, we can't even do certain things. In that regard, we are being selfish or we're being hypocrites. We have to free up our mind. We have to make sure those around us feel free. There are some of us, we can even go to the extent of telling our neighbors, today is Sabbath, and therefore we can't even help them. We can't even talk to them. We have to observe the Sabbath. And it's asking us, how will it benefit us? Let's say when you were coming to church, you saw a neighbor in a dire need, who needed you at that moment, and you watch closely and tell the neighbor, I have to observe my Sabbath, I have to go to church and come before whatever I have we can discuss or help. And this is exactly what the Sadducees and the Pharisees were trying to do. And in that regards, they were being hypocrite, they were being selfish. Today we have this going on in our church. Sometimes you hear people saying, one of the churches that you see people living every now and then is the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. Yes, and it's true. These are some of the reasons. Yeah, the entity near ma any entity in Siamuni be actually home. It will surprise you today. We have ministers doing the same thing. They come and you see the members suffering. The spiritual aspect of the church is so down, is so weak. And then they will come, they want to quote constitution to you. They want to tell you how things are done in the Presbyterian church. Brethren, this is not what Jesus was teaching us. If you want to, the love that he showed to the church, he also wants us to show the same love. And even more than that, to ourselves in the church. If we cannot love ourselves, if we cannot help one another, but we want to impose this tradition, old traditions in our churches, what benefit would that be? Or how will the members benefit? Let me read again. From our second reading, Hebrew 12:18, but I'll read 27 and then to 29. The words once more indicate the removing of what can be shaken, that is created things, so that what cannot be shaken may remain. Therefore, since we are receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, let us be thankful, and so worship God acceptably and reverence and awe, for our God is a consuming fire. Hallelujah. Amen. So this is all he's trying to tell us. We have to always go with his word. That is not shaking, whether we like it or not. Whatever we are experiencing now, all the laws, all the rules, and everything in the church will one day pass away. Everything that we see, the dancing, the clapping, the singing, the offering, everything one day will pass away, except his word. And that is what he's telling us. He said all those things that are shaking, there will be a time we didn't even say it, it will just pass away. It's same thing. Those traditions in the church, there will be a time we wouldn't even need them. There will be a time it wouldn't even work anymore. But one thing that will always be in the church, that we need to focus our mind and our time and our energy, is God's divine love in the church. Hallelujah. We don't have to focus so much on some of this old tradition. We don't have to keep our trust and everything. Some of those traditions are good, they guide us. But one thing we have to know, there will be a time it will be somewhere that we don't even have to visit. So now in our church, let us try. Let us work hard and make sure we maintain the unity of the body and God's love among ourselves. One will ask, how do we keep God's love in the church? There are so many ways. Sometimes you just have to look through. You just have to look around. And also pray. There are people in the church, Not about money. Sometimes it's about word. Sometimes it's about helping them. Sometimes it's about directing them. Sometimes it's about what? Being there for them. Giving them advice. They are so down. And this is what God requires from us. His love. His love. So if you are in a church and we are not on good talking terms, when we are in the church and there are so many oppressors, like when we read in the first reading, there are so many challenges from there. Today it wouldn't be much surprising. There are pastors challenging themselves in the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. There are deacons, deaconesses fighting, challenging themselves. All because of what? Some of these old traditions that are not even working anymore. I pray that the good Lord will continue and always help us to remain in His steadfast love and also direct our ways. Amen.
Amen.
Shall we pray? Father in heaven, we thank you once again. Father, we thank you for your word that has come unto us. Your word is telling us how we have to always remain in your steadfast love and not to be moved by these old traditions in our churches. You are telling us to love. Father, we are praying at this time to make us instruments of peace in the church so that we can love and love unconditionally. Father, Lord, we are praying that, Father, continue to open our eyes, open our ears, so that, Father, when we are moving in your church, we wouldn't be stood with the old ways. We didn't embrace the olden traditions in our churches. But Lord, we accept and change our old ways. We are praying that, Lord, let His word move in your church. Let us have that heart to love. Let us have that heart to, Lord, always move by your word. I pray, committing everyone here, Lord. Whatever challenges we are facing, whatever issues that we are facing, Lord, because you've given us the power to love. Let us go and love. Let us go love in our church so that, Father, your word will always abide in us. We thank you for your word. We bless you and we honor your name. Amen.
Amen.
With all this, I'll ask, in whom do you believe?
I believe
In
in
God,
God,
Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ,